Hello, friends. Welcome to lesson 12 of geometry. If you have not seen or watched or gone over investigation one, what I call investigation one, or lesson 10, you should go back and do those because this lesson is based on those. In investigation one, we learned that if we have a transversal of two parallel lines, if we know the lines are parallel, then we know that the corresponding angles, the alternate interior angles, the alternate exterior angles are all congruent with each other. Sorry, right? And that the same side interior angles are supplementary. So again, 2 and 6, those are corresponding angles. If these two lines are parallel, these two angles are congruent, right? 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles. They are congruent. 2 and 7, those are alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, sorry. Those are congruent. And then same side interior angles like 4 and 6 are supplementary, meaning they add to 180. Those are things we know from investigation one. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. Also, in lesson 10, we learned about what are called converse statements. Okay, converse statements are when we switch the if and the then. If we have an if-then statement, then when we switch the if-then, that's the converse, right? Because a con artist likes to change, likes to switch his identity. And so the corresponding angles postulate tells us that if we have a transversal of parallel lines, here we didn't use the if-then terminology there, but we can put it that way. If we have a transversal of parallel lines, then the corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, that's what we were just talking about. So the converse of that would tell us that if corresponding angles of a transversal are congruent, then the lines are parallel. We're just switching the if then. Like the first one says if parallel, corresponding angles are congruent. Here we say if corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel, which I've kind of illustrated here. Right? So if we've got a transversal of two lines and this angle is congruent to this angle, then we know that this line is parallel to this line, right? It's all about proving that lines are parallel. Before, in lesson or investigation one, we learned, okay, the lines are parallel. So now what angles are congruent or supplementary? Here, we're going backwards. We're saying this angle is congruent to this angle, or these angles are supplementary to these angles. Therefore, the lines are parallel. We're proving that the lines are parallel. And we're saying this has to be the case, right? Like if we have a transversal of two lines and this angle is congruent to that angle, then it must be the case. It cannot be doubted logically that this line is not parallel to this line, or this line is parallel to this line. And then we have the other theorems as well, right? So we had the alternate interior angle theorem, which told us that if we have a transversal of parallel lines, then the alternate interior angles are congruent, right? We just talked about that. The converse tells us that if we have a transversal and the alternate interior angles are congruent, right? So if those are congruent, then we know without a doubt that the two lines have to be parallel. Also, exterior angle converse. If the alternate exterior angles are congruent, then we know the lines are parallel. Very simple, right? And the same side interior angle converse here. Again, if the same side interior angles of a transversal are supplementary, then the two lines are parallel. Okay, and I like to use the abbreviations, the one because I'm lazy. That's generally the case in math, right? All of our symbols are because we're lazy, and we only write what we need to. And so, but it's good to be able to see and use the symbols and to be able to translate them because it's time saving and also helps to kind of conceptualize what these things mean. So again, a very simple lesson, just taking what we did with lesson 10 with converse statements, combining that with investigation one. And so we merge those things and we get all these converses. The whole point of today's lesson is how we prove that two lines are parallel to each other. Okay, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.